There is a room under Malta where a whisper does not stay a whisper. Speak low inside a certain carved chamber, and the sound thickens and comes back at you from the stone, as if the rock had decided to answer. The people who cut that room died 5,000 years ago and left no writing to explain the niche. The Hypogeum was found by accident in 1902. A temple carved downward into living limestone, 3 levels deep, shaped around 3600 before our era. No metal tools, just stone, antler, and patience. And in one wall, a small oval niche, cut with a care the honest eye cannot quite explain. This is a thought experiment, not a claim, so imagine the builders were listening. Suppose they shaped that niche to hold a tone. Resonance not as an accident of geology, but the fingerprint of a lost science of sound. This is not a claim, it is a thought experiment, a case file opened one carved oval at a time. Welcome to the Impossible Archive, where history and the impossible meet. We go down into the one room where the whisper comes back, and we start with a number nobody down there could have written, yet the walls seem to remember it. Clue 1. It begins not with a discovery but with an accident. By 1902, workmen cutting cisterns for a new row of houses broke through the roof of something no one was looking for. What they had broken into was the Ħal Saflieni Hypogeum, a temple hollowed downward into living rock, 3 levels deep. The first clue in this case arrives the way most real ones do, sideways, unlooked for, through the roof. Go back further, and the scale is what stops you. It took roughly 1,000 years of hand quarrying to finish, and the deepest cuts run 3 floors under the daylight. But scale is not the strange part. The strange part is one small room they finished with far more care than a grave should need. An estimated 7,000 of their dead were later laid to rest inside, layered through the chambers over generations. And yet, the record keeps one detail it cannot quite account for. Most of the chambers were shaped for burial and for passage. One was not. In the level they now call the oracle room, a single niche was cut into the wall with a precision the surrounding rooms never received, smoothed, curved, finished as if it were meant to do a particular job. Why one chamber was worked differently from all the rest is the question this whole case turns on. Clue 2 is not a date, it is the shape of the place itself. To read it, you have to go down. The hypogeum descends across 3 levels cut into the rock, one below the other, like a stone building turned inside out and pressed into the earth. The upper level sits nearest the old surface, a cluster of natural hollows widened by hand. Below it, cut deeper, lies the middle level, the finished one, with smoothed walls, carved doorways, and the chamber they call the oracle room. And beneath that, deepest of all, the lower level, reached by worn steps, some cut to no clear purpose, dropping toward a floor more than 30 feet under the Maltese daylight. 3 descending levels, each one cut by hand into the rock below the last. Every chamber below the first was quarried downward into the dark by people carrying the rock out one basket at a time. They did not build up toward the light. They dug in the other direction, deliberately, level by level, deeper. Here is the step this clue leaves us on. If the one careful room sits in the middle level, worked unlike every surface around it, then its precision was no accident of a rough dig. It was chosen. Which raises the plainer question. Why cut one niche in one room 3 floors down, unlike any other wall in the whole descent? The depth is measured now. What waits at the bottom of it has not spoken yet. Call this the same clue 2, seen from a second angle. The descent is only half of what this place asks you to weigh. Deep in the complex sits a chamber the archaeologists call the Holy of Holies, and its ceiling still carries the proof of how much it was cared for. Red ochre spirals, painted by hand roughly 5,000 years ago, curling across finished limestone that was smoothed and shaped long after the raw digging was done. Nobody left ochre on a passage they only meant to walk through. Somebody meant this room to be seen, and to be remembered. Set that labor beside the other number the site keeps. As we noted, the excavators counted the remains of some 7,000 people here, laid down over many generations. Not a tomb for a single ruler, and not a shelter for a single village. A count that large means the living kept coming back, carrying their dead down into the rock for a very long time. So hold the two figures together, the way an investigator holds two facts that will not sit apart. One room was painted and finished with a care no ordinary burial needed. 7,000 people were brought down to be laid among rooms like it. Whatever this space was, the effort spent on it and the multitude entrusted to it both point past simple shelter, past a place to merely store the dead, which leaves the plainer question standing unanswered by any spiral or any bone. The labor is counted. So are the dead. Clue 3. So we go down into that one room and do the plainest thing an investigator can. We speak. In the middle level stands a chamber worked unlike anything around it, a low recess cut into the living limestone, the oracle room. Speak into it in a low male voice, and the stone answers. The sound does not stay where it began. It gathers in the carved oval niche, deepens, and rolls outward until every level 3 floors deep hums with the same tone. A whisper does not do this. Only the low register catches, and when it catches, the whole descent becomes one instrument. Someone put in number to it. The tone the room favors sits at roughly 110 hertz, near the note A2, the low pitch an ordinary man speaks in. And here the honest step. A room that favors that exact register is a fact worth setting down and carrying forward. The reading holds steady. Design, or accident, the case does not say which yet. Clue 4 moves the case out of the stone and into the body, from the room to the head that hears it. If a room favors a single low tone, the honest question is what it does to whoever stands inside it. So we follow the sound to where it lands. A listening head. In 2008, a UCLA psychiatrist named Ian Cook exposed volunteers to low tones near this register, the register a priest in that room would have owned. Around 110 hertz, some readings shifted toward regions we tie to feeling and image. Now the honest step, marked plainly. If a low tone can nudge a modern brain in a lab, then a chamber built to hold that tone would do something to anyone who spoke inside it. Not magic, a physical effect the builders could have felt long before they could measure it. So the stake climbs. A lab result now stacks onto 5,000-year-old stone, as if whoever cut the oracle room built not just a chamber, but a seat of authority, a place where one voice could rule the dark. Which raises the sharpest question yet, not whether the room can change a mind, but whether someone, 5,000 years ago, already knew that it could. Every case reaches the point where the honest investigator names the doubt out loud. And here is ours. A careful listener would object, and the objection is a good one. None of this needs a builder who understood sound. Mainstream researchers point out that any roughly egg-shaped chamber cut into soft limestone of similar size will naturally resonate near that frequency. Cut a hollow that shape, at that scale, in that stone, and physics hands you a low tone whether or not anyone meant to tune it. Give the objection its full weight because it deserves it. The oracle room is not a machine with dials. It is a carved recess, and carved recesses ring. A worker could have cut that niche for burial, for storage, for the shape the tool wanted, and blundered into the resonance, never hearing it at all. Coincidence is not a lazy answer here. It is the answer that asks the least of the dead. So concede it cleanly. So on this one room, accident wins, and we let that verdict stand without flinching. But the case does not rest on this one room. A single tuned chamber proves only that limestone rings. The next clue leaves Malta and crosses open water. Clue 5 is the one that reaches farthest. the same low note waiting across the water. A single tuned chamber proves only that limestone rings, unless the same low tone answers somewhere Malta never touched. So follow the sound out of the island and north. Decades earlier, a Princeton engineer named Robert Jahn measured the resonance inside ancient chambered tombs across Europe. The instruments came back with strong, low-frequency sound in the same narrow band, right down near that 110 hertz register the oracle room favors. Not a folk story about singing stones. A reading, taken with equipment, at more than one site. One of those sites was Newgrange in Ireland, a passage tomb raised around 3,200 years before the Common Era, older than the pyramids at Giza, a mound of stone and turf with a single narrow shaft cut to catch the winter sun. Different island. Different builders. The same note waiting in the dark. And it did not stop there. Chambered barrows in England, raised by farmers with no ships to reach a Mediterranean island and no trade route running that far, carried the same acoustic signature, with no traceable way of hearing what the Maltese had cut. 3 building traditions, by every estimate, separated by open water and by centuries, with no contact and no shared network between them. Yet the dark of each one answers on the same low pitch, as if the stone itself had agreed on a note long before anyone thought to listen for it. So how does a case like this close? Take a precedent, the Antikythera mechanism. Scrap in a drawer until an X-ray found its impossible gears. But the comparison is incomplete. That mechanism was an object we could X-ray, while the hypogeum's tone is a behavior of stone that leaves nothing to photograph. 2 stacks of cards sit under the lamp now. It is documented that the oracle room answers near 110 hertz, and that a 2008 UCLA study measured a real shift in the brain at that pitch. It is hypothesis that the builders tuned it on purpose. And it stays unresolved whether the same note in Newgrange and the English barrows is a forgotten science of sound or a shared trick of geology. Now, come back to where we started, the lamp narrowing to a single carved niche. UNESCO named the Hypogeum a World Heritage Site in 1980, and only a few visitors are let in each day now, to protect those very acoustics. If you stood in that niche and the room came back with your own low note, would you call it an accident? That is a file for another night, set gently aside. This case, at least, we can close. This is the Impossible Archive, where history and the impossible meet.